Welcome back, timeless pennies coin collectors, history buffs, and curious minds. Today, we are diving into one of the most intriguing and valuable coins in American history, the 1966 Roosevelt dime. If you've ever wondered why this particular dime is worth so much money, or if you've ever stumbled upon one in your change, you're in for a treat. Buckle up, because we're about to explore everything you need to know about this rare and fascinating coin. So, grab your magnifying glasses, and let's get started. The Roosevelt dime, as most of us know, has been a staple in American currency since 1946. But did you know that it carries a deep historical significance? Let's rewind a bit. In 1945, President Franklin D. Roosevelt passed away, and the U.S. government decided to honor him by putting his likeness on the dime. His image was chosen because of his incredible leadership during the Great Depression and World War II. But it's the 1966 version of this dime that holds a particularly fascinating story, one that could land you a fortune if you come across one in your pocket change. The 1966 Roosevelt dime stands out from the rest for a variety of reasons. So let's break it all down. The 1966 Roosevelt dime is a special coin for a variety of reasons, and it begins with the minting process. In 1966, the U.S. Mint produced more than 1.6 billion Roosevelt dimes in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. However, there's a significant twist when it comes to the mint marks. Most of these coins have the standard mint mark indicating which facility produced them, a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, and no mint mark for Philadelphia. But there's one specific 1966 Roosevelt dime that's gained a lot of attention over the years, and it's the rare 1966 coin that never had any mint mark at all, even though it should have had one. This minor error has led to some of these coins becoming extremely rare, valuable, and sought after by collectors. Now, you may be wondering, how rare is this unmarked 1966 dime, and why is it worth so much money? Well, the coin's rarity and value are the result of a huge misstep at the U.S. Mint. The issue stems from a mistake during the minting process. The dimes were struck, but for some reason, the minting press failed to stamp the proper mint mark on these coins, which would normally indicate where the coin was made. As a result, some 1966 dimes from the Philadelphia Mint were released without any mint mark at all, leaving them as highly collectible and valuable errors. To make things even more interesting, these rare coins have been highly sought after by collectors for decades, which is why the value of the 1966 Roosevelt dime continues to skyrocket. The market for the 1966 Roosevelt dime has evolved dramatically over time. When it was first released, these coins were, of course, worth their face value of just 10 cents. However, as more collectors began to notice the unusual minting error, demand for these specific dimes grew, and prices started to climb. In fact, some of these coins are now valued at tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of dollars. But here's the kicker: there are rare instances where a 1966 Roosevelt dime has fetched even more, with reports of one specific coin being sold for as much as $34 million in a high-profile auction. Yes, you heard that correctly. A 1966 Roosevelt dime, in pristine condition and with the mint mark error, was sold for an astounding $34 million. That's more than many people's homes, cars, or even entire retirement savings. So what makes these rare coins worth such an enormous sum? Well, it all comes down to scarcity, condition, and demand. Let's break this down a bit further. The first factor contributing to the coin's massive value is its rarity. Remember, this is a minting error, and not all 1966 Roosevelt dimes are missing their mint marks. In fact, most of them were minted correctly with the mint mark in place. As a result, only a handful of unmarked 1966 dimes exist, making them incredibly rare and difficult to find. Coin collectors and investors alike are always on the lookout for these highly sought-after pieces, and the demand for them continues to rise. The second factor is the coin's condition. As with most collectible items, the better the condition, the higher the value. A 1966 Roosevelt dime that is in mint or near mint condition, with sharp details, no wear, and minimal tarnish, will command a much higher price than a coin that has been heavily circulated. This is why coins that are found in mint condition rolls or original packaging are often worth more. Now, let's talk about coin grading. In the world of numismatics, the term grading refers to the assessment of a coin's quality based on its condition. Coins are graded on a scale of 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect or flawless. For a 1966 Roosevelt dime to be worth top dollar, it would need to be graded highly by a reputable organization like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC. A coin that's graded 68 or 69 could fetch tens of thousands, while a coin graded 70, meaning it's in perfect condition, might be the one to bring in millions. These high-grade 1966 dimes are the holy grail for collectors, and that's why they can command such astronomical prices. But what about the rest of the 1966 Roosevelt dimes? Are they still valuable? Absolutely. While most of the 1966 dimes are not worth millions, they can still command a good amount of money depending on their condition and the specific mint mark. Coins from the Philadelphia Mint with a clear no mint mark error have become quite valuable over the years, and they remain one of the most highly desired coins in the market. Even a dime in decent, uncirculated condition could be worth a few $100s to the right buyer. So, how can you tell if you have a valuable 1966 Roosevelt dime? First, check for the mint mark, or rather, the lack of it. If you find a 1966 dime without a mint mark, you could have a winner on your hands. Next, look at the condition of the coin. Is it well preserved, or has it been heavily worn down through years of circulation? If it's in good condition, it might be worth something. But if it's in pristine, uncirculated condition, it could be worth a lot more. So, where can you find a 1966 Roosevelt dime? While it's incredibly rare to stumble upon one in circulation today, you might still find one in your pocket change if you're lucky. Keep an eye out at garage sales, estate sales, or coin shops. You might also want to check online auction sites and platforms where rare coins are traded. But remember, finding a 1966 Roosevelt dime with no mint mark in pristine condition is a true rarity, so if you do find one, make sure to get it appraised by a professional. So there you have it. The 1966 Roosevelt dime, once just a common coin, has now become one of the most sought-after and valuable pieces of American currency, with some of them fetching eye-popping amounts at auctions. If you've got one of these in your coin collection, or if you happen to find one in circulation, don't let it slip through your fingers without checking its value. Who knows? You might just have a piece of history worth millions. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more fascinating coin stories, valuable collectibles, and hidden treasures. Until next time, keep on collecting. To another fascinating episode where today, we're diving deep into a coin that might not seem like much at first glance, but trust me, it's hiding a story worth millions. We're talking about the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime, a coin that might be sitting in your coin jar or pocket change right now. But, here's the catch, it could be worth much more than you think. In fact, the value of a 1987 P. Roosevelt dime has soared to incredible heights, with reports of one specific coin being sold for as much as $34 million at a high-profile auction. Yes, you heard that right, $34 million. Stick around because today we're going to explore the history, the value, and the market factors that make the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime one of the most coveted coins in the numismatic world. To understand why the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime is so special and why it's worth big money, we need to take a step back in time. The Roosevelt dime has been a part of American currency since 1946, when the U.S. Mint decided to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his passing in 1945. Roosevelt, who had led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, was chosen to be the face of the dime. The coin's design was created by artist John Sinek, and since then, it has remained largely unchanged. The dime became a symbol of Roosevelt's legacy, and for decades, it was a coin that circulated through American hands without much fanfare. And now, let's jump forward to the year 1987. In that year, the U.S. Mint produced billions of Roosevelt dimes, with coins coming from different mints across the country. These dimes were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and each coin was minted with specific markers, namely the mint mark, to indicate where it was produced. The 1987 P. Roosevelt dime was minted in Philadelphia, and, like most coins from that year, it was supposed to be a regular, everyday dime with no particular uniqueness. At first glance, the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime might appear to be just another coin from the 1980s, simply a product of its time. However, it's the market and historical factors surrounding this coin that have made it stand out. While many of these dimes were produced in massive quantities, a rare error occurred with some of these coins, causing them to become highly collectible and valuable. Let's dive into what made the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime so special. As you may know, minting coins is a complex process. The US Mint uses highly specialized presses to strike each coin. But, like in any manufacturing process, mistakes can happen. In the case of the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime, a particularly rare error was made during the minting process. Some of the dimes were struck with a special die that caused the coin to have a completely unique appearance. The error didn't involve just the mint mark, though it did involve some of the finer details, like the design's depth and clarity, making these coins stand out. In 1987, the US Mint was using a new set of dies for the production of the Roosevelt dime. Some of these dies were defective, causing the dimes to have subtle but noticeable differences in their design. What makes the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime so significant is that certain coins from this batch have been graded as having a particularly rare doubling effect in their design. This doubling, which is known as strike doubling, happens when the dies that strike the coin become misaligned. As a result, some 1987 P dimes have a distinct and visible doubling of the lettering and the features of Roosevelt's face. This was a mistake, but for collectors, it's what makes these coins so sought after. And now, let's get into why this error is such a big deal. The key factor that drives the value of the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime is the rarity of the doubling effect. As you might imagine, minting errors like this are relatively rare, and when you add the fact that only a small percentage of 1987 P dimes were affected by this flaw, the value of those particular coins skyrockets. But it doesn't stop there. The 1987 P. Roosevelt dime, in certain high grades, has become one of the most sought-after coins in modern numismatics. The rarity of the doubling effect, combined with the excellent preservation of these coins, has created a perfect storm for a surge in value. Over the years, the value of these rare 1987 P. Roosevelt dimes has been on a meteoric rise. What was once just a 10-cent coin now holds significant financial potential. While a standard, uncirculated 1987 P. Roosevelt dime is worth only a few dollars, the rare error coins can sell for hundreds, thousands, and in some cases, even more. Some auction houses have reported sales of 1987 P dimes with the doubling effect for amounts as high as $50,000 to $100,000. And if the coin is in impeccable condition, graded as MS67 or MS68, the price can jump into the six-figure range. But wait, it gets even crazier. In a historic auction held by one of the world's leading auction houses, a particularly rare 1987 P. Roosevelt dime fetched a jaw-dropping $34 million. That's right, $34 million for a single dime. How did this happen? Well, this coin wasn't just any coin. It had been graded as a near-perfect specimen with exceptional strike doubling, a flawless finish, and it had a provenance that made it even more valuable. Provenance, in the world of collectibles, refers to the coin's history of ownership and its journey through the years. This particular 1987 P. Roosevelt dime had been part of a renowned collection and had been preserved in perfect condition for decades. The combination of rarity, historical significance, and market demand made it one of the highest-selling coins ever. So, what makes these coins worth so much? First, it's the rarity of the doubling error and how few of these coins exist in circulation today. Second, it's the condition of the coin. A high-quality, well-preserved 1987 P. Roosevelt dime is much more valuable than one that has been heavily circulated. Third, the provenance, or the history behind the coin, can drastically increase its value as it tells the story of the coin and its previous owners. The next thing to understand is coin grading. Coins are graded based on their condition, and this is a critical factor when it comes to determining their value. A grading scale from 1 to 70 is used, with 70 being the highest grade, meaning a flawless coin. A 1987 P. Roosevelt dime that's graded in the mid-60s could be worth several $1,000s, while a coin graded 67, 68, or higher could easily fetch six figures, and in the case of the $34 million dime, it was graded as near perfect. If you happen to have a 1987 P. Roosevelt dime and you think it might be special, having it professionally graded is a must. Now that you know all about the history, errors, and value of the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime, you may be wondering how you can get your hands on one. While finding one of these coins in circulation is highly unlikely, it's not impossible. You can check with local coin dealers, search through online auctions, or even visit numismatic shows to find these rare treasures. But remember, the key to finding a valuable 1987 P. Roosevelt dime is knowing what you're looking for. Look for that subtle doubling effect in the design and examine the condition of the coin closely. And if you do find one, make sure to get it professionally appraised. You might just be sitting on a small fortune, and there you have it, the story behind the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime and why it's worth so much money today. Who knew that a simple dime could have such a fascinating history and be worth millions? If you're a coin collector, this coin is a must-have for your collection, and if you've got one sitting in your change jar, it's time to give it a second look. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more stories on rare coins, valuable collectibles, and everything in the world of numismatics. Until next time, happy hunting!